the news network for the people, combating the mainstream media.
The United States will begin collecting DNA samples from immigrants who enter the country illegally. The DNA material will be sent to the FBI to store in its combined DNA index system. The rule will require immigration officers to collect DNA from detained immigrants. Now, civil liberties groups warn the program will set a dangerous precedent, while the Department of Justice officials say it will help enforce federal law. The DOJ issued a final rule Friday authorizing the Department of Homeland Security to collect DNA samples from immigrants who enter the country illegally and are in federal custody. Officials said the collection effort will fully enforce the DNA Fingerprint Act, a law passed back in 2005 that requires taking DNA samples from anyone arrested, facing charges, or convicted, or from any non-U.S. citizens detained under the authority of the U.S. The Justice Department said the rule will facilitate federal, state, and local investigative and crime reduction efforts. The Wall Street Journal reports the new rule is set to take effect in April. Quote, today's rules assist federal agencies in implementing long-standing aspects of our immigration laws as passed by bipartisan majorities in Congress. End quote, the Deputy Attorney General Jeffrey A. Rosen said in a statement. He also adds, its implementation will help to enforce federal law with the use of science. End quote. U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents have carried out a pilot program to collect DNA samples from some migrants apprehended in Detroit and at Eagle Pass port of entry in southwest Texas since January. The program has received criticism from Democrats and civil liberties groups since the plan was first announced in October. Just last month, Democratic Representatives Rashid Tlaib and Veronica Escobar and Congressional Caucus Chairman Jacqueline Castro called the collection of DNA samples a serious human rights issue, in a letter calling on the Department of Homeland Security to stop the pilot program. Quote, unlike fingerprints, DNA reveals deeply personal information about individuals and their relatives. This kind of mass DNA collection could be used to surveil and implicate American citizens as well as their family members in the U.S. and abroad, end quote, the lawmakers wrote. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, also criticized the DNA collection program, saying if implemented, quote, would threaten the privacy rights and civil liberties of immigrants, end quote. Quote, collecting the genetic blueprints of people in immigration detention doesn't make us safer. It makes it easier for the government to attack immigrant communities and bring us one step closer to government knocking on all of our doors demanding our DNA under the same flawed justification that we may one day commit a crime, end quote. Noreen Shah, Senior Advocacy and Policy Counsel with the ACLU, said in a statement. The DNA material would be sent directly to the FBI to store in its combined DNA index system known as the CODIS. The system works similarly to the FBI's massive fingerprint database, as it's used to identify suspects based on evidence recovered at crime scenes.